I'm Dr. Rudi Newman, a historian and author working with Hertfordshire's library service, and in this series we'll be revealing some of the important, obscure and sometimes unusual stories to be found in Hertfordshire's history. The town of Hoddesdon has witnessed varied historical events, from its hospitals surviving the dissolution of the monasteries to the settling in the area of Italian prisoners of war. Arguably, its most important historical contribution, however, was an event that did not actually happen. Threatening to decimate the monarchy, this failed conspiracy is known as the Rye House Plot. After the civil wars and interregnum, Charles II restored the monarchy in 1660. His playboy-style attitude, however, led to criticisms throughout his reign, and there similarly was concern about other actions. The country at this time was extremely anti-Catholic, equating it with autocratic control, and so, while Charles was Anglican, his friendship with French King Louis XIV and his increasingly obvious Catholic sympathies created discontent amongst members of Parliament and other ardent Protestants. This was worsened when his brother James, Duke of York, converted to Catholicism in 1673. James was heir to the throne, so risking a Catholic king, and with Charles dissolving Parliament in 1681 to block an exclusion bill designed to prevent James's succession, the discontent against Charles began to boil over. Amid a slow change in politics that would see the creation of the Whig Party, the predecessor of the Liberals, numerous individuals began to discuss a more militant solution to the issue. Details are vague, various different types of insurrection being considered, and the precise individuals involved still being debated, but there were two main groups with their own plans. One, now known as the Rye House Cabal, was led by Robert West, a radical who had witnessed the fatal results of a false anti-Catholic conspiracy in 1678. This group's plan was to assassinate Charles and James. The second group, comprising more nobles than the first, was called the Monmouth Cabal, after the exiled James Scott, Duke of Monmouth, and later called the Council of Six. A co-conspirator, Monmouth was also the eldest illegitimate son of Charles. Rather than assassination, they preferred starting rebellions in England and Scotland. These groups only had limited connections with each other, sharing some members, but overall disagreeing in method and whether a republican or monarchical constitution should follow. The plot, and Hoddesdon's unwitting role, began in March 1683. Northeast of Hoddesdon was a medieval mansion, Rye House, that was near a narrow but major road. Knowing that Charles and James attended the Newmarket horse races, so using this road, the house was leased from Republican and Civil War veteran Richard Rumbold, with the intention of hiding men in the grounds ready to ambush the royal coach on their return, the 1st of April. However, on the 22nd of March, a major fire destroyed half of Newmarket, and the races were cancelled, Charles and James returning to London early, so the attack never happened. Nonetheless, there were serious repercussions. On the 12th of June, Josiah Keeling, anxious about the plan, leaked its details to Minister Sir Leoline Jenkins, triggering an investigation. Conspirators were arrested as additional information surfaced, notably West, and while some fled overseas, others confessed in the hopes of a pardon like Keeling. In spite of saying little to incriminate the Monmouth Cabal, the court did not consider the two groups separate, and as names were leaked, the arrests continued. Ultimately, some were pardoned, including West, but many were not successful. 13 were executed, 10 imprisoned, 10 exiled or fled, 1 tortured, and 5 implicated, including Monmouth still overseas. Another peripheral figure in the Monmouth Cabal, in the process of being imprisoned, committed suicide in the Tower of London, one Arthur Capel, 1st Earl of Essex, who owned Canterbury House in Watford. While some historians now suggest the plot was exaggerated to remove political opponents, and the identities of those who directly planned it are still debated, it nonetheless had significance through its perception by the public and government. It demonstrated the precarious situation that had developed and acted as a portent of future events. After Charles died, Monmouth led a failed rebellion against James in 1685, which led to his execution. Now king, James's pro-Catholic political agenda led to the Glorious Revolution of 1688, when he was ousted by his Protestant daughter, Mary II, and her husband, William III. As for Rye House itself, it had a quiet history, the grounds becoming a pleasure garden in 1870, best known for displaying the Great Bed of Ware. It was demolished in the early 20th century, with only the gatehouse standing today. The 1683 Rye House Plot failed to achieve its objective, something that would conversely be accomplished only a few years later with William III. However, it assisted these later events by publicising the wider discontent. It also shows how sometimes history is made by the events that did not happen. If you would like to know more, there is plenty available, and Hertfordshire libraries are a great place to start, with many online resources alongside material in your local library. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thanks for listening.